All right, Representative Tapke, if you would like to introduce your bill 1335 for another possible inclusion. That's not what caused it.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I make a motion that we have introduce House File 1335 for possible inclusion in a future omnibus bill and future finance bill. And I also have an author's amendment A1 that I'd like to, in interest of time, just incorporate now. So I move the A1 amendment.
Representative Tapke moves the A1 amendment. Is there any discussion to the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion prevails. All right, Representative Tapke, to your bill.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members and Chair Koznick. House File 1335 is a bill that we worked on last session for digital IDs. And so what this is the ability to have a driver's license or other ID on your phone. And so this isn't, you don't have to ever hand your phone over to anybody. You don't ever have to give up and we spelled that out very clearly in the A1 amendment, but you never have to hand your phone over to anyone. What this is just a tap method like Apple Pay or Google Pay, and so that people who want to would be able to have a license, an ID in their phone. And so the purposes of this would be simply for safety and for convenience and for protecting your privacy. And so I know there are concerns about privacy anytime we get into devices and digital IDs, and so we'll have a variety of folks here to talk about that today, but this would work just as if anybody has Apple Pay or Google Pay on their phone. It would work as a tap just like that, or the chip on your credit card, that kind of thing, so you wouldn't ever have to give over your device. And Madam Chair, I have a testifier here from Shakopee to chat about the importance of the bill.
Thank you. Are you Jesse Laura?
Yes. Yes, I am.
All right, welcome to the committee. If you could just state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Jesse Lar. I'm from Shakopee. I'm here today to support the authorization of electronic driver's licenses in Minnesota. It comes down to three things: convenience and accessibility, enhanced security and fraud protection, and modernization of government services. I think the most immediate and relatable benefit for Minnesotans is the convenience and accessibility. I can't tell you how many times I have left my house without my wallet and realized I didn't have my ID on me, or I already use Apple Pay, so another layer of identification makes it that much easier. Being able to use it through the airport definitely would have saved me time when I lost my ID through TSA once. I think digital IDs are going to be more secure than physical IDs due to encryption and compliance with strict AAMVA standards. They're going to reduce the identity theft risks. So let's say I lost my wallet, I still have my ID on my phone, so I can carry on with life, and they're going to be less likely to be forged like a physical ID. Lastly, for modernization, nearly 24 states have already adopted or are working on digital IDs, so let's bring Minnesota up with them.
Thank you very much. We also have Director Zhang on the list, if you'd like to come up to the rostrum. Thanks. Director Zhang?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Pong Zhang, Director of the Driver and Vehicle Services Division. And I want to say thank you to Madam Chair Cagle and Rep. Tapke for the opportunity to testify on HF 1335. The Governor and DVS support efficiencies in government and providing services to customers in the way they prefer. This is why the Governor recommended an online renewal option for DLs in the DVS budget. Similarly, a mobile ID, or MDLs, as we call it in the AMVA world, provide an opportunity for customers who want the option to store their driver's license or ID card securely in their phone. 12 states already offer an identity document that can be used by TSA, and many, many more are looking to pursue that option throughout the country. MDLs allow for an individual to present their ID and exchange only the necessary information. I think that's really one of the cornerstones of the MDL and why it's more secure than handing over your full credential. DVS and our contractor FAST have had multiple discussions regarding mobile ID, and we're confident that the MnDrive system is capable of accommodating this into our system, and FAST has already delivered this project in other states. We appreciate Rep. Tapke bringing this initiative forward, and I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, and you have another testifier up there with you, if you'd like to identify yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Yes, thank you, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Joe Lohmeyer. I am the project manager for FAST Enterprises, maintaining the MnDrive system for DPS. I'm here today to help explain some of the technical aspects of the mobile ID infrastructure and answer any questions around that. Particularly here today to help explain how the mobile ID process is more secure than identifying yourself with a physical ID. One thing that comes to mind is when you are identifying yourself for an age-restricted purchase, or maybe you're going to a bar and you need to identify your age. Handing over a physical credential today hands over all of your private data, your address, your name, date of birth, height, weight, everything. Within the mobile ID infrastructure, it's designed in a way that when you share your identity, only the data that is necessary for that interaction is shared with the identifier. So for example, if I'm trying to enter a bar, the person that's trying to identify me only needs to be able to compare DVS's photo with me and know that I'm 21. They don't need to know what my date of birth is specifically, and the mobile ID infrastructure allows for that in both a safe and secure way. It also is secure from data breaches in a way that only the data is stored on the device and encrypted. And in any interaction within the mobile ID infrastructure, would be at the sign-up process, the vetting of the mobile ID request at the agency, or sharing the data. All data is end-to-end encrypted and kept safe from any sort of breach in that way. This process was put together through industry experts at the International Standards Organization. I believe the bill does mention the standard. And that standard had 5 guiding principles. It is secure by design. The user maintains control of their data, and they consent to only the data that they want to share. It is unlinkable and untraceable. The relying parties, or those who are identifying somebody, can trust the data, as that data is cryptographically signed by the agency, so they know that data came from DVS in this case. And we are able to improve the data freshness of the identifying information as that data is refreshed on the device in regular intervals. I'm happy to take any questions, and I'll be here for follow-up.
Thank you very much. I'm assuming Mr. Neumeister, are you wanting to testify?
Mr. Neumeister, always great.
Welcome to the committee. If you'd like to identify yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Madam Chair, for the record, my name is Rich Neumeister. First, let me apologize for coming in and out. As you know, these are unique calls. Where I had to be 2 places at once where I wore my open government hat. Now I'm here wearing my privacy hat. This bill, I think, is not ready for prime time and needs lots of work from a privacy perspective. One of the first questions that I'd ask, because I helped develop CrimNet, that all of you are familiar with, where criminal justice information is shared. I sat on that governing committee for 22 years as a public person on privacy. And we asked for, what is the privacy impact statement? Is there a privacy impact statement on this new dynamic that lays out what the questions are, what are the issues, so that you as policymakers can deal with? Secondly, some of the issues that I just highlight is there is centralized tracking and data sharing. Depending on the software, DPS could be having elements of data of where you were and what. Again, depending on how it's implemented and the software that you use. Then that comes to the second part that this dynamic does not have. like I told you about, the CRIMNAT group was made up of all people, state people and all that. There should be a work group with this, involving advocates, community people, and the users and the impact. So that's another item that this does not have. Should forbid any party from requiring, to where you have to show these dynamics. There are other things, and I probably only got about a minute or two, and I just want to wrap up by saying different parts of the bill. When you look at on page 2, line 24, where electronic credential data is subject to Chapter 13, are you telling the bar owner who is verifying, all of a sudden you're going to be under Chapter 13 because there might be some data elements? I'd like to see it deleted. So in summary, as the old saying goes, the legislature needs to put good policy. And we all know bad laws are made when there's not broadly good information given to policymakers. This one needs a lot of good information and a lot of broad discussion. So Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, members of the committee, those are my comments. And thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Looks like we have one other testifier. If you'd like to come up to the restroom, state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
That's fine.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Matt Flanders, and I'm the Legislative and Policy Director at Citizens Council for Health Freedom, a national nonprofit health policy organization based right here in St. Paul. For over 25 years, our mission has been to protect patient and doctor freedom. CCHF opposes House File 1335 because any shift towards digital IDs significantly expands government power over individual lives, including in healthcare, and threatens personal privacy, security, and autonomy. While we understand that the bill as currently drafted makes a digital ID voluntary, the goal is to make digital IDs the only option. But don't take our word for it. Roughly a year ago, in testimony to Congress, the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, also known as AAMVA, stated, quote, "While AAMVA anticipates the MDL will eventually be used as a singular identity credential, we recognize for the immediate future, both the physical card and the MDL must coexist." It is not just our organization's belief that a digital ID, if implemented, would become the only ID. It's AAMVA's belief, too. House File 1335 references compliance with roughly 200 pages of AAMVA standards on lines 1.17 and 1.20. Then on lines 2.7 and 2.20, the bill references compliance with, quote, applicable AAMVA standards. Does this mean Minnesota would be bound to whatever standards AAMVA decides now and in the future? And what happens if the AAMVA standards change to require digital IDs? What if AAMVA decides as part of the licensing process that states should collect additional biometric data, which is more easily stored and connected to a digital ID than on a physical ID card? On AAMVA's website, they state, quote, "There is a real possibility that biometric data may one day replace or supplement existing identification," end quote. They define that biometric data as fingerprints, facial geometry, iris, blood vessel pattern in the retina, voice, signature, etc. As a health freedom and privacy organization, this is of significant concern to us. CCHF advocates for patient privacy rights because he who holds the data makes the rules. Privacy rights protect personal control and individual freedom. Despite intentions otherwise, digital IDs could very well eliminate privacy rights and create a no-card, no-care system within healthcare and beyond. According to the AAMVA Mobile Driver's License Implementation Guidelines mentioned in the bill on lines 1.16 to 1.18, quote, "As per design, the issuing authority is involved in real time each time an MDL is used by the MDL holder. The issuing authority would technically be able to keep track of when an MDL holder uses his or her MDL and keep track of what data is shared. Based on IP address analysis, the issuing authority would also be able to track an MDL holder's physical location to some extent," end quote. Thus, using a digital ID would catalog a person's behavior patterns, personal decisions, locations, and actions. For example, that audit log would show when a person showed their digital ID to go to the hospital or clinic, pick up prescriptions, purchase a gun, purchase alcohol or tobacco, board a plane, and more. Also within AMVA's guidelines referenced on lines 1.16 through 1.18 is the ability to send a push notification to delete or suspend a mobile driver's license from a device. Pennsylvania reported similar capabilities, including the ability to wirelessly pull up a driver's identification without having to leave their patrol cars. If a digital license can be remotely accessed as described, beyond concerns of misuse or privacy concerns of government tracking, would it not also leave an individual vulnerable to criminals or hackers who will inevitably
if you
seek
could
to
wrap up soon,
access
please. Thank you.
this sensitive biometric data on an individual? Finally, on line 1.18, this bill would require compliance with an ISO standard that doesn't currently exist. When I looked this morning, the ISO standard says it is not currently available and is under review. In conclusion, this bill is about more than just being able to have an ID on your phone as a matter of convenience. It is a calculated step to offer voluntary convenience now to enable future mandatory compliance. Thus, we ask you to oppose House File 1335 to protect the health freedom and freedom in general of all Minnesotans. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other members of the public that wish to testify? Seeing none, we will move to member questions. Representative Olson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative Tabke, for bringing this interesting concept that I'm an author on as well. When we first had this discussion, we looked at an old fiscal note that I think was a little bit off because they were talking about the utilization and the purchasing of furniture and office supplies. So I think that that's a concern that I have, is we don't have any idea what the current cost, because I didn't really trust the original one. But one of the comments that I asked you was, how is this alleviating other people with this electronic device? I'm seeing that with the DE, or with the amendment we've got, we're still requiring individuals to have their actual license on them in nearly every case. And so in order to drive, you have to have your physical license. It also talks about anyone who's inspecting, verifying, or accepting electronic credentials must also provide the physical one as well. So I guess that's a different one. They just have to, they can't choose between them. But other than purchasing alcohol, I'm confused what other things I would be able to use this for, other than, because I still have to have it to drive.
Representative Tabke.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair and Representative Olson. So yeah, those are both really good questions. First, on the fiscal note side of things, we haven't gotten the fiscal note back yet, and so the previous fiscal note, I am told that it is that since FAST has gotten more information as to how this would be implemented, where this would go, the current fiscal note, when it is finally released, is significantly less than where we're at right now. So that's good. And the finance and the money comes from the DVS Special Services account. So this is not general fund money. This is not ongoing money forever. This is making sure that we are able to implement this and move this forward now. And so that's the fiscal note side of things. And so this, as we have talk about privacy and those types of things, this bill does need to stop in judiciary. And so with that, would love to send it to judiciary today if that would be possible, and then make sure that it comes back here and would be included if it wanted to for the final fiscal bill that we have for transportation. So on the fiscal note side of things, that's where we're at on this. But then on the other side, as to use of this, is that I think it's really important that we never require, and so that's why the A1 amendment was here. I think it's really important that we never require that using a digital ID is the only way you can do it, because A, there are lots of folks who don't have phones, don't want to have phones that are capable of this. So I think that's a major way forward. So this bill specifically outlines that that a digital ID is not the only way that you can use it. And so in the meantime, until people get used to being able to, where retailers, where other folks are able to utilize digital ID. So right now there are 14 other states that currently are using digital IDs. And there are next to no problems that I've been able to find with those things, where things have been abused or problematic. It has gone really, really well. And so there are 14 other states that use it. You can use it TSA, you can use it wherever, in a lot of different places. But if you wanted to use it at your local, liquor store, I don't want to force that liquor store to have the infrastructure to accept a digital ID. And so that's why it's important that you have a physical ID along with it. And that requirement for a physical ID could go away in the future. But for right now, it's really important that we make sure that everyone is able to be successful and use it if they want to, that everyone has flexibility and the ability to use this technology if and only if they choose to.
Thank you. Any follow-up, Representative Wilson? Thank you. Representative Green.
Thank you, Chair Cagle and Representative Tapke. Thank you for bringing this bill. I'm thrilled to be an author on here as well and to have signed on. So I have one comment and then a question I wanted to just say. You know, we've heard from some testifiers and some discussion about that this would then force everybody to become digital. And I will just say, you know, we've had online banking for quite some time, and my mother still insists on going to get money from the bank with a deposit slip. And so that's still an option that's out there for her, and that's not going to change. And so I just wanted to give that comparison. And then my second question, or my question is, would tech companies be able to access personal data with using digital ID? Is that a possibility for tech companies to have any access at all to personal data?
Looks like Representative Tapke is phoning a friend here.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And Representative Green, will be much better answered by the technical folks on this side.
Thank you. If you want to just restate your name for the record and then answer Representative Green's question, please.
Joe Lohmeyer, thank you, Madam Chair. Representative, tech companies should not be able to access the data as long as the ISO standards are followed. The process of obtaining a mobile ID it requires you to go through a process on the phone, and that the data that then is transmitted to DVS to request the mobile ID is all encrypted end to end from the moment it leaves the phone, and it goes through whatever tech company's infrastructure and then makes it to DVS's infrastructure to be vetted as a correct mobile ID request. That is all end-to-end encrypted. And then similarly, when DVS would then provision the mobile ID back to the device, everything is encrypted. There is no need for a connection to the internet in order to present your mobile ID. That is a device-to-device protocol as it was established through the international standard. And so you can present your ID without any sort of data going out to the internet or being available outside of those two devices that are sharing the information.
Thank you. Any other follow-up?
No, just thank you very much for that.
All right, last person on the list, Representative Scraba.
Thank you, Madam Chair. After hearing, I'm going to have, but after hearing all the violators today, it seems weird. It's like a confessional here. I violated that. Well, I violated that one. I'm not there, so. I have a couple questions. One of them, how easy is it to make an e-license? Do I just sign up and do it? What is the crux of that?
Representative Tapke, or, I'm sorry, what was your last name again?
Lohmeyer.
Mr. Lohmeyer. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Representative, thank you for the question. It can depend on the wallet provider who's providing the app that is on the phone. Typically what you would see, again, just following the standard, the person that's asking for the ID is required to first take a photo of both the front and back of their physical license. And then also they go through a series of device checks. The device would ask for a selfie, and then there's a liveness check process where they make sure that I didn't obtain a photo of somebody and I'm just holding my phone up to the photo of that person. So the device may ask you to wink, may ask you to turn left or right or smile, something to make sure that it's a live person that is making the request for the mobile ID. That data is all packaged up and then vetted through a process that is defined by the agency. In this case, it would be DVS. And photo validation would be done to make sure that all the data from the person matches the data on the driver's license that photos were taken of.
Very quickly, Representative Scraba.
So is there an opportunity in that point for someone's hacking are you vulnerable then? And then the other question that I need to ask before we go away, is this blockchain technology? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Lomi?
Madam
Lohmeyer,
Chair,
sorry.
Madam Chair, Representative, this is not using blockchain technology. And the hacking possibility, again, through the app that is on the devices, the data is encrypted before it leaves the device. So there's no chance of interruption between the device and the agency when they're vetting the mobile ID application.
Thank you, Representative Kraft.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I first heard about this in a conversation between Representative Doubt and Representative Hornstein in Hornstein's office. They were working on this together. Amazing. I do want to say one of the testifiers, I think from CCHF, made some pretty alarming claims about some things. And one of the things that was said was that it's based on a standard that doesn't exist. And I just did a quick search on that standard, the ISO IEC standard, and it does exist. So I would just caution us, if I can check that so quickly, caution us against some of that input we heard from that testifier. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Kraft. Representative Koznick.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I know we're getting a little bit pressed for time. I did have some questions for the department, and I will ask them. But as they prepare, the biggest thing is that we don't have the fiscal cost. If we have time, or we can pass, and we'll follow up on that. But, we do have a $6 billion deficit looming. General funds, this is DVS, special funds, but it all can be manipulated, and I think, so I have concerns about spending additional dollars outside of our main charge. So I will be interested in seeing what the fiscal cost is when that comes in. I am a little concerned being subject to the AAMVA and the ISO IE. We should be deciding standards for ourselves. I'm wondering, Director Zhang, do you know if there's a cost to, it might be a little bit outside yours or Mr. Loma, I'm concerned about if there's a cost to an entertainment or hospitality venue to be able to scan these readers, if they have to invest in other technology to be able to do what they do currently. But to Director Zhang, on your handout, and I wish I had more time to had reviewed it in advance, but it doesn't sound like you're particularly supportive or particularly opposed. I haven't said so explicitly, but it talks. One of the handouts talks about an audit log. With again, the ISO standard recommends on a device an audit log. What is your position or concerns with an audit log if we did do and instituted a digital ID?
First off, maybe we could ask Mr. Lee about the fiscal note and when we may be able to expect that.
And then, Madam Chair, maybe what the previous fiscal note was, just to give us a ballpark as well.
Madam Chair and Representative Koznick, yes, I did request the fiscal note on the 4th of this month. It is usually due in 2 weeks, so it has not been turned in by the agency yet for LBO review. On the fiscal note from last year, that was on House File 4,900. There was a $1.1 million special revenue fund cost in the first year and $847,000 cost in the next year.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. And then to Director Zhang, if you'd like to answer the question.
And maybe, Madam Chair,
Please go, yeah, thank
just to
you.
clarify my question to the director, the audit trail, but I guess I'm more curious what your thoughts are on the fiscal note coming out of one of your funds.
Madam Chair and Rep. Koznick. So as far as the audit log, AMVA has a recommendation to not allow an audit log or maintain the audit log in a way that only the customer can see it and control it, delete it, track it for their purposes. So that's the recommendation from the AMVA guidelines. Depending on how this bill is established, as it's currently amended, we would follow that recommendation, which would give DVS the option to do either or. I think the idea here is that the customer controls it, if we allow it in the MDL. In terms of the fiscal note itself, we are working to update it. We want to make sure that the data is accurate, and we're just putting that together, and it should be really close to the prior fiscal note, because the technology and the solution is pretty much the same from the last time we looked at it.
Thank you, Director Zhang. And we have very little time, so if we could just have very quick question, good?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
proceed. Thank you. I know we're
Thank
short
you.
on time.
Representative Tapke, would you like to wrap up your bill?
Yes, Madam Chair. So thank you, everybody, for the conversation on this. I just want to real quick tell a story that this weekend, or actually on Tuesday, my 18-year-old daughter went to her very first concert by herself. And so to get into that concert, she had to have ID check and got swiped. And so she has driver's license, and she had her driver's license scanned when she went in to make sure that she was 18 and able to be there. And this code back here, this barcode back here, gave that person who swiped her card access to her name, her address, her not her phone number, but her date of birth. It gave access to all of those things that person had complete and total access to. That venue had total access to that information that was contained on this driver's license. And so if she had digital ID, all she would have had to do is tap this, and it would have said she's good or she's not good to go in. And it would have had it would have told that venue that she was able to go in. So this bill, in order to move forward, does need to stop at judiciary. Representative Chair Koznick, are we okay to go to judiciary, or what do you? Okay, so I renew my motion. This gets laid over for possible future inclusion.
Thank you, Representative Tapke. Your motion is renewed, bills laid over.